Hey, welcome to the next video in this particular concept. I've got my happy little pens going. Hey, we are ready to go. So have your packet ready, and let's go ahead and do this as I go ahead share with you our document. All right. Well, last time we worked on key vocabulary and talking a little bit about how to round and estimate a little bit and how to compare a little bit. So let's talk about some of the vocabulary that you picked up last time. First of all, the sum of 9 and -3. If I wanted to write a statement for that, I know sum means addition. So I could write this as 9 plus -3. Now, if I wanted to go ahead and simplify that, and we'll talk about that word in the next video, I can go and add those together. So 9 plus -3 turns out to be 6. So I've written a statement for it, and I've actually figured out what the statement is equal to. Remember, when we add integers, we look to see, do we have more positives or more negatives? In this case, we have more positives. So how many more positives? Well, we have 6 more positives than negatives. Difference. Difference means to subtract. And the order here does matter. So we're looking at 9 minus a -3. Now, when we subtract, remember, to subtract integers, we add the opposite. So this is really, and I'll show you the trick I kind of like to use, 9, add the opposite. And so we're looking basically at 9 plus 3, which is 12. So if you're good at adding integers, doing that one thing will make you awfully good at subtracting integers too. Product. The product of 9 and -3. Product means multiply. Now, in algebra, we use a dot to show that we're multiplying. So this is 9 times, and I'm going to put -3 in parentheses. And sometimes we say that's a quantity. So this is 9 times -3. Well, 9 times -3 is -27. We don't use the x anymore because x looks like it's a letter which stands for a variable in algebra. A positive times a negative gives us a negative answer in this case, quotient. We see quotient in the next two. Quotient of 9 and -3. 2 ways we can write that. 1, 9 divided by -3. And I just like the parentheses in there to separate things. But quotient means divide, and so does this bar. 9 divided by -3. In fact, anytime you see a fraction, you're actually dealing with division, aren't we? Well, 9 divided by -3 turns out to be -3. Now, that's an important idea because the quotient of 12 and 8, and again, the order matters, is 12 divided by 8. And you might go, oh, I don't know what that is, so I'm going to get my trusty calculator out, which is just fine. And I can do 12 divided by 8. And I'll get 1.5. So that is the result, and that's totally fine. But think of it as a fraction. This is 12 over 8. And we reduce a lot of fractions in mathematics because we like to make things simpler. Life's hard enough the way it is. We want to make things as easy as possible. So is there a number we can divide 12 and 8 by? The answer is yes. I could divide 12 by 4 and 8 by 4. And that will give us a final answer of 3/2. And 3/2 is indeed the same as 1 and 1/2, which is the same as 1.5. So there's many ways you can write your answer in math, but read directions carefully to look to see what we want in the certain circumstances that we're dealing with. Now, it's great that you can do like all these arithmetic items, but we need to be able to apply it. That's the goal of mathematics, is can we use it? Okay. So there's different methods to solve things. In fact, let's tackle this problem a couple different ways. First thing, let's read it. One recipe calls for 3/4 cup of sugar, while a second recipe calls for 2/3 cup of sugar. How much total sugar is needed to make each recipe 6 times? Some key words in here. We're going to make each recipe 6 times. We want to find out the total amount of sugar. All right. Well, here's one thing we could do. One thing we could do is we could go ahead and add these fractions together. 3/4 plus 2/3. And what that would do is that would find the total amount of sugar for one recipe of each. Now, when I do that, I can go ahead and get common denominators for this, which is 12. And 3 times 4 is 12, so 2 times 4 is 8. And 4 times 3 is 12, so 3 times 3 is 9. And I can add these down and get 17/12. I can get the same thing. I can use my calculator to do that as well. And this is how I could do it. So the way I could do it on my calculator is I could come down to find this fraction button. And it's right here. And so I could do 3, hit the fraction key, fourths, plus 2 fraction key thirds, and I get 1 5/12. Now, if you don't like the form of that, notice above this fraction key, I can change it back and forth. So if I hit the second button and that key, there's my 17/12 that I got. Now, again, I can't stress enough, if you're going to, do some things in math, science, computer science, doing these and having these skills that you can do on paper might take a little bit longer, but it's going to benefit you down the road. That's totally up to you, though. Okay, but again, the payoff will be way later, so consider that. So what we found is 17/12 is the total amount of sugar we need for one of each, but we're going to do it 6 times. So I need to multiply that by 6. And I can write 6 as 6/1. Now, when I multiply with fractions, I don't need common denominators, but I can multiply across if I wanted to. Or I can look at the 12 and the 6 and go, what do they have in common? Well, I can divide 6 and 12 both by 6. So 6 divided by 6 is 1. And 6 goes into 12 twice. And I get a final answer of 17/2 cups. And that might not mean a lot, so it might be good to change that to a mixed number. So 2 goes into 17, and I could do it this way. 2 goes into 17 8 times with 1 left over, so that gives me 8.5 cups. And that's something I can work with. Now, let's use the calculator. Let's take our last answer, and let's multiply it by 6. Okay, there's our 17/2. Very fast to do it this way. But again, when we get into some of the algebra things, if you understand how it works with the numbers, it works very similar with algebra and with the variables that we'll deal with as well. Now, this isn't the only method that we could do this problem on. The other thing I could have done is I could have done it a different way. Namely, I could have taken 3/4 and multiplied it by 6/1, because that would have given me the total amount of sugar for 6 of the first recipe. And then I could have taken 2/3 times 6/1 for the second recipe. Now, simplifying things, again, like I did before, and I can multiply this out of the calculator, but I'll show you without. 4 goes into 6. Well, it doesn't, but I could take 2 out of both of those. And now multiply across and get 9/2. Here, I could take 3 into 6 and 3 into 3, so that 3 becomes 1. And 6 divided by 3 is 2, so this becomes 4. Now, I'm adding 4 and 9 halves together. So if I change 9 halves over, 2 goes into 9 4 times with 1 left over. I can then add these two together, and there's my 8½ cups that way. So if you see one way in a video or in a particular question, and you go, hey, this method will work, hey, if it works, use it. We want you to be able to be a good critical thinker. The different methods are okay. Sometimes you got to read and select the necessary information. Let's read this. A plane flies on an altitude of 6,200 feet above sea level. Since a storm is approaching, the plane descends 1,400 feet for 20 miles and then gains 1,800 feet. The plane's speed is 520 miles per hour. What is the plane's new height? So I want to circle items that just apply to its height. So it started at a height of 6,200. I'm going to jot that down. And to that, it's going to descend 1,400. And notice the units are the same. Could circle the feet as well. So descending means it's going to drop. So I'm going to take 1,400 away from that. And then it's going to gain 1,800 feet. So I'm going to add 1,800 to that. The other information is not necessary. It's kind of like a buffet. You don't have to eat everything on the buffet. You only eat what you want. And we only use the numbers that we need in this case. These numbers aren't bad to deal with. We can take, if we kind of disregard the zeros for now, we have 62 minus 14, which is 48. And 48 plus 18 is 6,600 feet above sea level. Finally, we've got to read and answer the question we're looking at too. Your bank account has a balance of $1,052.30. You make 2 deposits of $40 each and make 1 withdrawal of $27.20. You are charged a fee if your account balance drops below $1,000. After these transactions are made, you will be charged a fee. The question says, if I can read, will you be charged a fee for dropping below the required balance? It's a yes or no question. So what we have to think of is this. I'm at 1,052. Key number right there. I'm going to make 2 deposits of 40. That means I'm going to go, deposit means I'm going to add to my account, and I'm going to make a withdrawal of $27.20. Well, maybe your number sense right now tells you that, will you be charged a fee? Will we drop below 1,000? The answer is no, we won't. If we're at 1,052 and we're going to add 40 and add another 40 and only take $27.20 away, we're not going to drop at that below $1,000. So we don't have to calculate anything necessarily. We can use our number sense with that. Well, we've made it to the independent part of the practice and of the video. I'd like you to go and do both of these problems here. Read them to yourself. Pause the video. Work through both of them. And then I'll be back with the answers shortly. Well, hopefully you've paused the video and you've went through both of those to see what you've learned and what you've accomplished so far. First question, your company will pay you 0.575 cents per mile when you use your car for travel for work. The price of gas is $1.95 per gallon. You log 211 miles of travel for work. To the nearest cent, how much money does your company owe you? We don't care about the price of gas. What we do care is they're going to pay us 0.575 cents per mile. So there's per. So in this case, I'm going to take 0.575 and I'm going to multiply it by 211. This would be an appropriate time to go ahead and use the calculator. So I'm going to take 0.575 times 211 miles, and I'm going to get 121.325. Now, to the nearest cent, that 2 is going to have to round up to a 3. So this is going to give me, or I'm going to get $121.33 back. Putting numbers in order from smallest to largest. Let's do these. Well, the square root of 8. The square root of 8. Let's think. I can put that in my calculator. This is how I would do it. I would hit second and the button above x squared on this calculator. And there's an 8. So it's a little under 3. I could reason that out because the square root of 9 is 3, and so the square root of 8 is a little bit less than that. So this was, what, about 2.8? Now this is 20 divided by 5, actually. 20 divided by 5 is 4. Now I can put things in order. So smallest number is going to be the square root of 8. 4 is bigger than 3.9 and 3.094, so the 3.094 comes next, then followed by 3.9 and 20 divided by 5. And please put them in the original form so we know which item is equivalent to which as well. Thanks for watching this video. You are now ready to move to the teacher talk part, and so as you get ready for that, if you're waiting for the teacher talk, it is okay to go ahead and start the practice at this time as well. But again, don't forget the teacher talk as well before you take the quiz for this concept. See you next time. Thanks for watching.